Hello! In this lesson, we'll be talking about the body stereotypes inside a cartoon style. We'll develop them and see how we can apply them. The first body type we'll be sketching is athletic, because it's the one you're more used to drawing both in anatomy lessons and when getting references to create characters like superheroes, etc. Like in any illustration, we'll start by establishing the symmetry lines, drawing the torso and the hips. An athletic body's torso will be very wide, and especially in cartoon style will exaggerate it a lot. The rib cage will be super wide and will make the abdomen part smaller. This way we have a very big contrast. Though the legs are thinner, we actually have an upside-down triangular proportion which makes us perceive a sense of strength in the upper part of the torso, enough for us to have an athletic character. In cartoon style, we don't necessarily have to respect the real proportions of the human body. Remember, we can modify them a bit to our taste. We always have to bear those proportions more or less in mind, so important things like the length of the arms or things like that work. When drawing an athletic body, it's important to define the chest and abdominal part, especially the chest and the back. If we define properly these zones, we'll get a sense of a much stronger body. Though we'll be doing the legs thinner, it's interesting that we establish either some big thighs with big quadriceps or some big calves too. You'll have to decide what you see fit and what matches your style. By doing this, we have a big sense of strength again, though the size is not as big as the torso muscles. The same with the forearms. If we make the forearms big enough, it gives a bigger sense of strength. When drawing an athletic woman, things change a bit, because we have to consider that the female anatomy isn't prone to have such strong thoracic spaces. Her back is not as wide as a man's back when we exaggerate it inside the cartoon style. It's usually thinner, though you can also make wider both the rib cage and the pelvis as long as you keep an athletic body's proportions. Remember, the woman's hips always starts immediately after the rib cage. This hip will be a very curved line in order to add the typical curvature of a woman's body. When we make an athletic or stylized body inside a cartoon style, we may want the woman's body to be more curvy. If you think about Marvel's heroines, you'll realize they have very athletic bodies, but they really have a lot of curves. Little details like accentuate the deltoid muscle or especially mark the differences between the limbs, that is, when placing one of the articulations. The following end shouldn't be so close to the one above it. Instead, we want a proper difference between the limbs. This way, we can understand perfectly the muscles under the skin, and this way we can get the sense of it being athletic. Though these are the basic sketches, you can later add some more detail if you like. In order to do this, you can take as a reference anatomic drawings of other people, or you can look for references in photographs of athletic bodies to improve your illustration. I think it's even more interesting for you to observe artists you like and see how they solved those problems you had when making your character's anatomy. This way you'll realize what techniques you can keep using to draw your characters. Now we're going to draw a thick body. When we're drawing this type of anatomy in cartoon style, As always, we'll exaggerate everything a lot. We'll start by drawing the rib cage as a very big circle. We'll make the head a bit smaller. We can make it bigger, but this way we create a contrast in volume. We'll make the belly zone very big and the legs small and short. All of these will give a bit more fun to the character and will get a more striking overall. Remember that in this body type, under the belly, there's the pelvic cavity, so we have to draw a hint of it just below the belly. The good thing about the arms is that you can do them thinner or thicker. That depends on the style you want to apply on your character. If you want your character to have a stronger appearance, some big arms can help you. On the other hand, if you want it to be a bit funnier, so to speak, you can draw extremely thin arms and legs so your character has a distinct touch. When creating a female character with this type of body, the only basic difference we have to consider is that she has a more prominent chest, which have to adjust to the shape of the belly because it's quite tall. Check out how we get both volumes adjusted, and this way they will work better. With these little details, we'll be able to differentiate the sex of a person. Likewise, instead of using this method of generating a very big sphere as a belly, we can establish a thinner torso and very big hips. These are just different resources you can use, and you can see examples in many cartoon characters from a lot of artists. The next and last type of body we'll see is thin. What we're really going to focus on when drawing thin characters is thinner bodies, but in a nut shape. With this, I mean what you're seeing will join the rib cage with the pelvic cavity in one with a bean-like shape. Carrying out this process like this helps us generate low-muscled, thin characters. If we wanted the character to have a bit more muscles despite being very thin, we'd have to adapt again to a more triangular-shaped rib cage, and then draw the pelvic cavity, only way thinner and more compact than in the first example. To boost even more that thinness, you can draw longer legs or arms. These are little examples I can provide, but actually in cartoon style you can modify to your taste many types of bodies. Actually, doing a little research and checking how other artists have solved these kind of bodies, you'll see different styles to do so. Here I offer a series of techniques, but remember, research is the base to learn much more. As for the female body, we'll follow the same bean body structure, only a bit curvier and narrow shape in the waist zone. We're going to add the breasts, and by doing so, we'll perfectly see it's a woman's body, though we follow the same structure and measure for legs and arms. Usually a female neck would be thinner than a male neck due to the main muscles of their anatomy. But in these kind of styles, you can create both their necks equally thin in order to boost the sense of the character being very thin. Here you have all the stereotypes of bodies so you can study them and reproduce them at home. Very well. Now that you've learned all the basic lessons, we'll go on to designing our final characters. In the next video, we'll sketch them and we'll study the story of who are going to be the characters for our rock band. I hope you like this lesson, and I'll see you in the next video.